Hey, what's up guys and welcome back to Anime King. And today I'm going to be giving you part 21 of What If Naruto Was a Direct Descendant of the Sage. Remember to get this one to 100 like as usual. Share this to all of your friends in your social media platform. And also, go ahead and check out the brand new episode of What If Naruto Got a New Training Trip Partner That Changed Everything over on Anime King 2. And enjoy that, guys. And remember, if you're new and this is the first time you're hearing my voice and you enjoy the videos on both Anime King 2 and Anime King 3, go ahead and click that red subscribe button and become a part of the Anime King family. And thank you for all of your help and support. Remember to comment down below and tell me if you're new. I'll be replying talking about to all of you. So yeah, without further ado, what is we begin this new episode? Start the intro. So, the last time we left off, Naruto was shocked to see Shizuku as Orochimaru made himself known. Well, it was a clone. He was the one that used her DNA to bring her back, as he asked Naruto if he was impressed. As Naruto was furious at the man. He was beyond furious, he was angry, pissed off. As he attacked Orochimaru, only for the man to melt away into mud. As the girl started to attack him. As she didn't have any control, she forced herself as she pleaded for Naruto to stop this. She already lived her time and she didn't want to stay like this anymore, as she begged him to release her from this curse. As Naruto was thinking about bringing her back, but she already lived her time. As she told him that she will always care about him, but this time that he move on, as she wished him all luck. As Naruto told her he would still carry her within his heart, as he removed her soul. As Naruto felt a weight lifted off his shoulders, but thinking about how cruel and wicked that man was, that to do this to Shizuku, to bring her away from her resting place, as the place started to tremble. At the moment, the Hokage was having trouble facing off against his two predecessors, along with Orochimaru, as the Kazekage was currently facing off against Onki. The entire place then bursted open as Naruto stepped in. Hiruzen recognized Naruto immediately. There might have been a few changes, but it was a boy. It was him. As Naruto came there and absorbed the first and the second Hokage into the pot. As he turned towards Orochimaru, as the more he spoke, the angrier Naruto got. As his subordinates started to call out to him, Orochimaru finally turned to see a wall of sand that towered over Konoha. He quickly summoned a snake to get out of there, telling Naruto that it was not done. As Naruto thought to go after him, but then he thought about it, seeing that his friends were extremely low on chakra. So he made his way towards them. Guy and Kakashi arrived there. As the Sand Cocoon started to break around in Konoha, Naruto blasted the two of them away after a bit talking of exchange. As he never meant to hurt them, just for distractions, he slammed his hand down as a bird took off. But neither Naruto or Fu or Haku was on that bird. After going near Han, without him doing anything, the Biju inside of him was absorbed into Naruto, and Naruto could feel a strain on his body already. As he summoned the chameleon and he brought his friends inside, as the chameleon was invisible to the outside. Yes, no one could see it. It was going to use a distraction of the movements around the village to escape out of there. As Naruto fell unconscious, his body bringing him to his mindscape. He still felt pain even though he was within his mindscape because it was bad, having this forcefully brought into his body. As he arrived in there to see his new tenant, it was like a dolphin mixed with a stallion. As it was confused, asking him why he bear resemblance to the sage and also why he has a Rinnegan. So yeah guys, let's basically ask what I thought you guys gain. Switch your courses, please, and check out for yourself. So what do you say we begin this new episode? Why do you share a striking resemblance to the sage? Not only that, why do you have the eyes of the Rinnegan? Is this some kind of mockery? Why was I brought here? Asked Gobi as he looked around. It's true, I possess the running gun, and I'm a monk, like the sage as I was told before me. But to say how you end up here, I don't know. I had no intentions of transferring you into my body, said Naruto. The gaze of the beast turned back towards Naruto as it was currently looking around. It took a calculated look at Naruto before huffing loudly, reminding Naruto of the dismissive behavior of the Kyuubi. You speak above your grade, human. You are all the same. Selfish, treacherous, just because you bear eyes. And a passing resemblance of our father speaks nothing to me. The Gobi looked up, his eyes scanning the area until they fall on the Kyuubi. What is this child speak of, Kurt? The Gobi was cut off as the Kyuubi slammed all of its tail down. His eyes looked murderous as he looked towards the five-tail with a deadly glare. Don't you dare speak my name, you insolent Cole. It seems like time away from me, as only dull your abilities to sense those who are superior to you. The Gobi backed away from that deadly glare, as his head lower, as the Kyuubi made his dominance known. They might have not liked his superiority, but they could not argue against it. As for why you're here, the insane dog over there became overzealous to please his father, said the Kyuubi, saying father in a disgusting manner. The fool of a child there allowed the Tanuki free rein with his sand, giving him what he called the Prida path. No doubt, the sandball thought he was being helpful by bringing you here. The fox then lowered himself as he placed his head down on his palm. As Naruto barely heard their conversation though, as the pain in his body was just getting worse and it was reaching its maximum limit. Blood pumped loudly through his ears and he could feel his skin. It felt like it was burning from the inside out. As the Gobi turned to look at him, Naruto was struggling to stand straight. This changes nothing, human. Just because of the resemblance, you are not the sage, and I would not be cowered by the likes of a filthy human. Naruto could not find the word to reply, as the pain shoot through his body, as everything simply went black once again. Time skip. As Naruto lifted his aching body up into a sitting position, the first thing he noticed was a gentle breeze, so he was no longer within the chameleon then. As he slowly, gently opened his eyes, weary in case he needed to slam them shut once again. Thankfully though, night had fallen, and only the soft moon illuminated the forest around them. As he saw the thick trees, if he had to guess, they were still in hiding the Kone, the land of fire. But he then spotted the chameleon summon. It was Nezzle, in the branch of a tree, skillfully in case any patrols passed by. Thank you. He waved to the chameleon that made itself seem visible. After Naruto awake, Naruto wasn't sure if it could talk, but it did nod its head, flicking its long tongue out before it poofed away. The bird that he had summoned probably vanished the moment he passed out, but he hoped that he had made a good enough distraction so the chameleon didn't make any mistakes. Looking around, the fact that they were no longer in Konoha walls, he guessed that was true. Ow, said Fu as she lifted herself up on her arms. The few burn marks that had made themselves known before, they still felt uncomfortable, as it was hard to heal, as it was from the Gobi's chakra from Han. Are you okay? She glanced around before her eyes set on Naruto. I believe so, she said. Nothing another night of rest will not fix. As Naruto nodded, she would probably be the fastest one to get better. After all, Haku had strained his chakra coils in his arms, as he pushed himself past his limit to help Fu in the battle, and his arm nervings were pretty messed up. And him, the chakra system was a delicate matter, and having the power of the Gobi being absorbed inside of him that quickly, and it was not exactly his doing, it kind of messed up his system. It would take a while before he'd get back to normal. Well, we probably won't be able to travel for at least a few more days. Not until Haku or I have recovered. Both glanced towards him. As he was huddled up on the floor, he was asleep, but he was also cradled in his hands. As little small red picks was all over his skin, where he had overused his chakra. Naruto tried to shift position, as he winced in pain. An arc of pain shot in through his body, as his system was all messed up. It will be Fu doing all the work over the next few days, as guilty as that made him feel his body was just not up to it. On second thought, we are going to probably be here for a week. Might as well make ourselves comfortable in the clearing. Fu nodded as she stood up, only wincing slightly from the burns lining her skin. As Naruto had to give her credit for masking all that pain, she made her way over to him as she leaned her body against his, leaving out her burned side so it wouldn't cause her any pain. What are you doing? He had the eyebrow raised as he spoke, genuine curiosity in his voice as he looked at her. He was used to waking up to Fu sleeping right next to him, but it was usually more subtle than this. But it seemed, given the pain state, she didn't really care. Making myself comfortable, she said. Naruto simply sighed at the small smash she was giving him. He supposed he should be happy for that. The Fu that he met 2 years ago would have never been able to express herself like that, as he was happy for that. Did we have any trouble escaping? Naruto asked. I am unsure. I was unconscious when the chameleon carried us out, Fu said, as she looked down as she sniffed her arm. That is an unpleasant image, said Naruto. Tell me about it. I suppose there were these two strange Jonins. As Naruto remembered now, how could he forget the man that had dragged his arm right through Haku? As in his pain state, he even forgot that. Not to mention with his Rinnegan, he didn't really forget anything. As he wondered, what else did the quick extraction has done to him? He didn't even know about the other Jinchuriki. After all, the extraction went off so quickly, he wasn't even sure if the man was okay. Sure, the chakra was extracted evenly from the man, thanks to the sand being wrapped around him, but at that speed, he couldn't even tell for sure. As he wondered if he killed the Gobi Jinchuriki by accident, he never made for that. He didn't even want to extract the Biju at all. But through it all, he couldn't find it to be angry at Shikaku. As the Kyuubi was right, he was doing what he thought that would help his father. As he sighed, he didn't have the answers and he might not get them. It was at that moment he noticed Fu was looking up at him. What is it? He asked. She looked down, obviously a bit embarrassed about being getting caught while he was lost in his own thoughts. But she was still Fu, as she didn't blush, not even a bit. I have never seen you injured like this before. He blinked as he looked at her. Thinking about it, he was never really sick or this injured before, not even back at Mizzle. He has never really been hurt until this moment. It makes you seem more human. Naruto blinked. I didn't seem human to you, he asked. His voice sounded a bit amused. Fu looked down, frowning. That obviously didn't came out the way that she wanted it to. You do, it's just, for as long as I know you, ever since you saved me from Taki, you just seem so invincible. As she looked up, it is different. She looked away, unable to stay contact with his gaze. Different good? Naruto asked. Fu coughed in her hand lightly. She shifted her body and got up. I should go gather some herbs for Haku, she said. Otherwise, he will be in a lot of pain when he wakes up. Naruto nodded as he was intrigued by what she wanted to say. But he would let her come to it in her own time. There was no need to rush her. Alright, don't go too far. She gave him a small smile before she headed off. As Naruto wondered how did people deal with confusing moments like these. Time skip. Hey Temari, you okay? As she looked up, as they were making their way back, the entire Sand delegation was surprised at what happened back at Konoha. It was Matsuri that spoke as she turned. Matsuri, looking at Temari with concern in her eyes. Yeah, why? If it's about what happened there, Temari. I said, I don't want to talk about it, Matsuri, said Temari. The younger girl looked away, a frown coming in her face. As she went silent for a while, there wasn't much conversations going on between the shinobis. But, isn't it a good thing, said Matsuri, as Temari sighed once again. I mean, does this mean that Gar is still alive? You're always talking about him, aren't you? Temari sent Matsuri an irritated glare before she increased her foot pace, as she was already in front of the group. I said I didn't want to talk about it, Matsuri. Go bother Conqueror or something, okay? Matsuri sighed. She was just about old to remember Gaara, the scary boy that controlled the sand, and no one would go near to him. As she wondered if he was lonely, being pushed away and just being by himself. She had to admit back there, being trapped alone in that sand cocoon. She wondered if this breath was going to be her last, if she was going to be squashed by the sand. However, she was still alive and so was everyone else. Even so, she could tell that it was bothering her teammate. Tamar always spoke about her little brother, wondering if he was alive and safe. She thought this would bring Tamar some comfort, but it seemed like it was just weighing more in her mind. She sighed as she looked around, as she wondered where Conqueror was. After all, he was Gar's family as well. Time skip. Kakashi leaned against the apartment balcony, his frown covered by its mask, as he looked across the village. Envoys were still jumping all around. There hasn't been a single casualty as of yet, as the fighting was quickly stopped by the sun. And aside from a few broken buildings, there wasn't really much collateral damage either. But that wasn't what he was thinking about. It was Dusty, and he didn't have his Sharingan activated, but he could swear that was Naruto. Yet he was confused. It's only been 2 months since their wave mission, but it seemed like he became a year older. That was confusing. Maybe it was a dust playing tricks on him. The boy didn't even seem to recognize him either, and that was really strange as well. His gaze drifted over towards the Hokage Tower. It was the first place clean of sand, as the shinobis had gotten around to start up anything. He needed to see the Hokage and ask him about this entire Naruto business. He needed to know the fate of his sensei legacy. But at the moment, he knew that Hokage was busy sorting out the ramification of the political fallout that this battle entailed. The problem was the stone shinobis. There were just too many of them. There were too many of them to simply incarcerate. Konoha lacked the supply and room to feed and house all of them humanely. In the end, the Hokage had decided to let them go. They had given up without their Tsunade to fight, and they were more of a threat here than they were out there. Either way, the stones suffer a humiliation, a defeat by a teen nonetheless. The Stone Shinobis were a complete different manner. They have direct connection with Orochimaru, but it seems like Orochimaru has some very loyal followers, as the Envoy teams had found some of them with capsules broken in their mouth, dead in the sand. Others chose to flee the moment the sand dropped. They were even being chased down as he stand here. Finally, there were those that were kept in the cells below after their surrender, as they were waiting to get the opportunity to speak with Ibiki or his other interrogators. However, right now Kakashi was worried about his team, as he would have to debrief them on this. Kiba was still in the hospital after whatever Orochimaru did to him in Training Ground 44, so he would have to gather them there. He knew that Sasuke was going to be angry though. He was humiliated before his match could even begin, and not to mention he was captured by the sand. Kakashi made it a note to keep an eye on Sasuke. He has been even more distant ever since he got the curse mark. Kakashi simply shrugged as he looked back down to his book, but his mind kept on drifting back to what he seen, that silhouette that stood there in front of the sun as it illuminated everything, and he saw those purple, ripple pattern eyes. Time skip. Come on, it has to be around here somewhere, a girl said, as the boy behind her groaned a bit. You said that. About the last 7 places we checked. The girl leading the 2 of them turned. She had brown hair, as she smiled. So what? You're saying that you're gonna give up, she asked. A boy with blue hair and thick glasses with a large bandaged sword on his back spoke. Maybe we should, you know. I mean, is it a really good idea to be looking for it, Nizumaru? How can you say that, Kojiro? Shizuku was our friend as well. How can we pay our respect if we can't even find her grave? Said Nizumaru. As Kojiro sighed, they had been out here several times, trying to find where Naruto had buried Shizuku. Maybe Naruto did not want it to be found. The girl huffed as she turned off, walking off into the mist. Don't be so pessimistic, Kojiro. We're burning daylight here. Kojiro looked up. The place was thick with mist as you could barely see the sun. How they were supposed to find anything in all of this was beyond him, but she was determined. You know that we're only out here because Misama is your aunt. Otherwise, we would be helping in Kiri. Restruction, said Kojiro. His response to that was Nizumaru, sticking her tongue out at him in a childish manner. Yeah, well, there's perks to being related to Mizukage. Now, come on. You said that you will help me with this, and I said that I will help you track down the rest of the 7 missing swords. Kojiro was about to protest, but another big smile from her as the words died in his throat. Oh, okay. as she didn't know why the quick change. She could have sworn that he turned red there for a moment. She simply shrugged. Maybe she was reading into it too much. Time skip. Tsunade-sama, don't you think you're overdoing it too much? As Tsunade slammed down the bottle of sake on the table, the third one. As they were in a bar like usual. What are you talking about, Shizune? This is barely anything, said Tsunade, as there was a slur in her voice as she spoke. As Tsunade raised her hand, signaling for one of the waiters to bring her another bottle of sake. You would have never drank this much if Naruto and Fu were still traveling with us. There was no venom in Shizune's tone, just a bit of disappointment. When those two were traveling with them, Tsunade had cleaned herself up a bit, but now she was back to this once again. Drinking. It made Shizune feel disappointed, because when they were there, she had the aunt when Uncle Dan was alive, back. The one that was powerful, determined, a strong kunoichi, someone that inspired all other kunoichis. But now she returned back to her bad habits. Yeah, well, Naruto and Fu aren't here right now, are they? Despite wanting to come out harshly, her words just sound tired, as she sighed. It's okay to admit that you miss them, Tsunade-sama. I miss them both. Tsunade off. Why would she miss that annoying little kid that bragged her for the last year? A year that she wouldn't get back. I don't miss them, she said. As she slumped forward, much to the arousal of the other males in the bar, as her chest pressed against the table. She looked up and glared at all of them as they quickly turned their heads. As she groaned, when she was with the two of them, man didn't glare so much, as they thought that she was a single mother and that kind of put them off. She realized what she was thinking as she slumped further into the booth. Damn it. I miss them, don't I, Shizune? Shizune smiled a bit. Do you want to talk about it? Tsunade snapped her head up as Shizune saw fire in her eyes. A fire that she knew all too well. Well, if I'm gonna get caught up in this touchy-feeling trap, I might as well get some more sake. Barman, where's my drink? Tsunade shouted. Shizune sighed as she slumped back down in her chair, pretending like she didn't exist as Tsunade's voice outweighed everyone else in the bar. Tauntaun snuggled up in her arms and gave her a look to say that it understood. But that didn't really help much, as Shizune just lowered herself even more. Time skip. Kabuto was currently on a broken building, where the two Jinchurikis had fought it out. Naruto's stand diversion had helped him keep his cover. He was sure that Orochimaru-sama would be pleased. After all, he was one of Orochimaru's best spies. Sure, Ibiki seemed a bit suspicious of him, but that was nothing a few months of lying low wouldn't fix. And also, he was a bit embarrassed that he was caught in the sand. He would have to look into that. After all, he thought only Ichibai container was the one with that ability, but it seems like he was not. A cat mask envoy with purple hair called him over to one of the more wrecked buildings. He was shown into a room that was submerged in sand. Inside was two envoys pulling up a man that was in red armor. Kabuto instantly recognized who it was. In what condition was he found in? Kabuto said, masked in his presence quite well, as his hand started to glow a green chakra. After all, he was one of the few medics on the envoy team that actually knew a lot in medical ninjutsu. He was buried under the sand but still breathing somehow. He's unresponsive. Kabuto started to run a scan over the Gobi Jinchuriki, but his eyes widened a bit under the mask. That was no longer the case, as his hand lingered a bit over the man's stomach. It is a case of complete chakra depletion. It's tenketsu, or burned out, but he should recover in given time, said Kabuto. That was a miracle, if he, well, could tell them. The man had a pinch of chakra that he was surviving on. But the strange thing about this was, he was no longer a Jinchuriki. Orochimaru would find this very interesting. Very interesting indeed. Time skip. Several figures appear in a cave, their bodies looking like holograms. Only thing you could see quite clearly was their eyes, as they all stood in silence, waiting for their leader to arrive. But it seems like one of them couldn't wait any longer. Well, isn't this goddamn boring? I could be out slaughtering people, but Leader Sama has me in here, surrounded by you behemoths. 6 set of eyes glare at the man, as he was identified by a large sight that he had around his back with 3 blades curving over. One of the figures with green eyes glared so hard it seemed like he wanted to bore right through the man's skull as he glared. Quiet, you religious ingrate. You're lucky I can't kill you, or I would have already turned your head to the bounty office. Although I suppose that wouldn't stop you from ranting about your stupid, idiotic religion. The man this sight glared back at the green-eyed man. You will get yours, any. That, say blasphemy in the word of Joshin, will bathe in utter, unending pain. Especially you, that only cares about money in this life. Useless money. And why wouldn't I care about money? Money is everything in this life. Without it, no man could do anything. What would you even do with money anyway? You're a goddamn missing name. Wealth is not about spending money. It's about having it. The man this sight was about to retort until someone arrived. As he had ripple eyes as well. Hey Don, Kakashi, quiet. I care little for your petty squabbles outside these meetings. But we have important things to discuss about. His voice was deep and commanding, instantly catching all their attentions in the room. He glanced around at all of the members. We are all here then, he said. One of the men with beady eyes, with something wrapped around his back, something rather large in a bundle, cleared his throat. With Konan-sama not be joining us today, Leader-sama, he said. The leader's eyes flickered towards him. The whereabouts of my lieutenant are no concern of yours, Kisame, said the man. Kisame looked down, looking a bit disappointed at that, but the leader simply turned his gaze towards another man, as he seemed to look like a turtle as he was hunched down. Sorcery. What is the status on the Ichibai? Despite my spy's best attempts, the Ichibai has been difficult to track down ever since leaving the Sun. He has been on the move in the past 3 years, and only recently I was able to get a good idea on where he was hiding. A few of my agents report someone using Sanjutsus in Tannakuni. The leader nodded slowly. The Ichibai leaving the Sand was unexpected, but it was good that they did not lose him completely. Find him, and this time, do not lose him. He then turned his gaze toward the other two that were bickering in the first place. And what's the news on the Nibe? Kakashi spoke. As far as we know, she's still within Kumo's walls. There has been some complaints about a blonde-haired woman stealing all the missing names like she's on some kind of purge. I'm sure it is her. The leader simply nodded. The standby will still be regenerating after losing his host. That should be no issue for Itachi to subdue. In that time, will it? His gaze turned towards the other man that had a dojutsu as well. 3 megatamas in each eyes. Of course not, Leader-sama, he said, without any hesitation. You and Kisame were also assigned to the Yanbai. He's some kind of a traveling hermit, said Kisame. He roams around Sakinakuni as far as we can tell. He shouldn't be hard to track down though. The leader paused as he nodded. He disliked Kisame's dismissive nature, but as long as he got the job done, he can tolerate it. The Gobi and Rukibai will be dealt with by me and Konan. Kakashi, you were assigned to Nibe. She is still missing. No sign of her from any of my sources, Kakashi said. The leader's eyes narrowed, as it made Kakashi nervous, lest her man falter already by the assembly gaze. We have time before the plans begin fully. You will find her. Kakashi nodded quickly. He was greedy. He was not stupid. The Haxabi is often sighted in Kumo. When time comes, I will collect him myself if I must, the leader said. No one pointed out that he would be one man against the entire village. They were under no illusions that he could not do it. Then I guess that leaves us, right, Leader-sama? After all, you wouldn't trust anyone else with the importance of the 9, would you? The one man that hadn't spoke up yet, well, that was if you could call the strange creature a man that was in the corner, as he looked like a large Phoenix flytrap. And he also spoke with 2 voices, one deep and aggressive, the other one was light and carefree. Zetsu. It was more of an acknowledgement rather than a greeting. The leader kept his interaction with the plant hybrid minimum. Well, I'm afraid that Kyubey remained more elusive than ever. We thought that he was at the fire temple, but he's gone now. Vanished like that. He is some kind of traveling monk right now, so he might be hard to track down. Is there no information on his whereabouts? The leader said. Zetsu simply shrugged. Possibly the only one in the organization that would dare do that to the leader. We were watching over the reconstruction of Kiri like you told us. We did hear about some invasion on Konoha though. Apparently, Orochimaru was involved. We can send a clone to check it out. No need. The leader turned. No need. Sasori, contact your informant within Orochimaru village and find out about this invasion and keep looking for the whereabouts of her last ring. The sealing process will be slow without it. The rest of you are dismissed, and with that his silhouette blink out of existence. Time skip. Is there any discomfort? Fu said, as she slowly unwrapped the bandages around Haku's hands. It has been a daily occurrence since the past week, where she had to keep on reapplying light healing sleeve to restore the points in his arm. But Haku didn't even flinch as the last of the white bandages fell from around his fingers. It feels okay, he said. And he meant it. Seeing that the first day he woke up, it took a lot of physical and mental control to not wince in pain every single second from the burning sensation that was going through his hands. Moving his hands was difficult, and forming hand signs was literally impossible. In any case, it would take a few days to heal. Haku flexed his arms. It was easier than yesterday. Thank you, Fu, he said. She nodded as she walked towards her other patient, as Haku smiled. In this past week, she had shown her skills in medical ninjutsu as she tended to both of her patients, but it also revealed another side of her. He had a feeling that she loved to take, control, be in charge, and take care of them. It didn't matter that Naruto was more powerful than her. It just mattered that at this point right now, he was reliant on her care, and she was in charge. But that was coming to an end. Every day, Naruto's chakra was healing his system faster and faster, as his chakra system was getting back to normal. He can even walk once again, without wincing every step, and he was using medical ninjutsu to improve his body healing rather quickly as well. It made Haku long for their teaching, as he also wanted to help people like that as well. How are you feeling? Fu asked. She blinked as Naruto did not answer. He was leaning back against a tree, just looking off into the forest. She sat next to him curiously. He wasn't meditating, as he always took a specific position for that. He was just staring off into the forest. Naruto, she said. He blinked as he looked around. It was like he didn't even notice her approach. Oh, sorry. I was just thinking about something. Fu just looked at him. It had been amazing how the two of them had spoken over the last week. It wasn't about anything particular, but as the two boys recovered, they didn't really have anything else to do but talk. She felt rather light as she thought about anything that came to mind, observation, during their travel and anything else. At the same time, she was allowed a glimpse in his mind. Just from hearing him talk, the things that he spoke about, as it has been nothing but pure talking, and she was just even more in rapture by the blonde enigma. Are you for your thoughts? She said. I've just been thinking about how long it's been since I've been home. As he looked off in a random direction. It is so close now, he said. How long has it actually been? Fu asked. As that never came up before, all she knew was that Shizuku was traveling with Naruto before them, and Naruto was traveling on his own before leaving the Fire Temple. As Naruto looked down, there had been the months in the sand. The months traveling with Shizuku, and then meeting Fu, Mizu, Kumo, Haku. Around 2.5 years, he said. He was 13 now, as he was nearing his 14th birthday. That must be difficult, she said. Knowing him, and knowing that he hasn't been to the place that he loves so much in such a long time. Naruto nodded. Why not go back? Naruto raised the eyebrow at that as he looked at her. She didn't know why she said that, but it got her thinking. What would happen if Naruto go back to the Fire Temple? Would he stay? Would she be allowed to stay with him? I don't even know. I suppose there is nothing saying that monks can't return before their journey is over. It's just, I don't feel like I accomplished what I set out to do. How can I go back knowing that, he said. As Fu sat with him in silence for a while, Haku was currently reading some medical ninja scroll that Naruto and Fu had gave him, their leftover scrolls from when Tsunade was training them. What was it that you wanted to do, she asked. I wanted to understand chakra, he said. As Fu went quiet, chakra was everything in your life. But yet none of them had actually stopped to think about what drive their impressive jutsu. And yet here he was. What made you think you haven't accomplished progress, she said. Naruto looked up, curious about what she meant. What do you mean, he asked. Fu smiled. As Naruto's a bit surprised by that, she has opened up a lot in the past week, but to see a genuine smile like that for no reason, it made him happy. As she took his hand and turned them over so that his palms were facing upwards. You have mastered all 5 of the elemental natures. Who else can say that? Naruto shrugged. That was just understanding about fracture of what actually chakra was. But he realized that he could bend chakra in certain ways. You created a technique that can bend chakra and turn it towards light as a medium. But I don't see. Fu placed a finger on his lips, cutting him off. Normally, he was the one capturing people with his powerful gaze, but now he couldn't tear his eyes away from those deep, powerful, orange orbs. You are able to create something from nothing with your chakra that is more than anyone else can see. After all, the Siege of Six Paths was the only one that can do that, as Naruto had heard from the Kyuubi. So, that made him feel a little bit of confident boost. As a smile came on his face as Fu smiled back. He pushed off the ground and got to his feet. "Thanks, Fu," he said. When people gave her attention, it was different. It made her happy. After all, in Take, it was always the bad attention, but when she get praises, it always felt wonderful. But when he said it, something in her just shifted. She didn't exactly know what it was, but it felt wonderful. "It's no problem," she said. Naruto moved closer, surprising her as he wrapped her up in a tight, warm embrace. "No, really," he said. "I'll always be happy when you're there to pick me up out of my lowest times," he told her. She couldn't answer that one as a blush came across her face, which she was fighting against but failing. But when he released her, he was distracted, so she turned and hid her pink cheeks. "We should probably get moving," said Naruto. As Fu looked up at him, the group was, well, still weak. "Where are we going?" she said. As Naruto gave her a dazzling smile. "I feel homesick, and there's some people I want you to meet," he said. Time skip. As Naruto couldn't express the feelings bubble up inside of him as they crossed the trees, as they saw the high walls of the fire temple, the familiar steel gates with their imposing size. Fu walked right beside him. Haku was behind, as he felt like he hadn't earned the right to be here yet, as he hadn't been a part of their friend group for so long. As they came closer, there was 2 statues, as those were the 2 men that created the fire temple, as they were some of the first practical users of Ninshu, which is now known as chakra. As the gates start to open up, the mechanism clicking, as someone put their head around. Naruto? Naruto had to wonder, well, the practicality of this monk being on gate duty this exact day. "Hi, Sora. It's been..." Naruto twisted his body as he was cut off, dodging the fists. A tentacle of sand broke from the ground and blocked the other fist. Sora's eyes widened at the new ability Naruto showed, as a smirk came on his face. "It seems you have gotten only stronger in your time away, Naruto," he said, as Sora pulled his hand back. And Naruto saw why, as his fist was coated in nothing but wind. "But you have no idea how long I've been waiting for this." He paused as a kunai was placed at his throat. He slowly turned his eyes to see the green-haired girl that was standing by Naruto's side. He didn't even see her move. Hey, it seems you made some new friends as well." "Huh?" asked Fu. Looked like she was looking past him, like his existence could be snuffed out rather quickly. "Fu, it's alright, Sora is just a little hot-headed." As she removed the kunai, as Sora saw her flicker back to Naruto's side. Finally allowed to breathe without a kunai placed at his throat, he grinned. His smile was large. "It really has been a while, Naruto. We should go in now," he said. The 3 of them made their way in as the gates clanged together. They turned their attention to the temple itself, and Haku and Fu had to say they were impressed. But for Naruto, he simply felt a warmth to wash over him. 2 years wasn't that long in everything, but it still felt so warm and kind and just beyond wonderful. Naruto, I was wondering when you would have returned to us." As Naruto's smile grew larger as he turned to the familiar voice. "Chikaku," said Naruto as he made his way and hugged the man. As the man looked down, Naruto was starting to reach him, height-wise. "You've gotten a lot taller, my boy." As Chikaku made a sweeping motion towards the building where his study was. "Come now, I'm sure you have many stories to tell us about your travels, so we can all go inside and have some tea," he said. As he smiled at the 2 young teens accompanying Naruto, they understand where Naruto learned to squint his eyes like that now. "I'm sure that your friends will be most comfortable, With the hospitality of the fire temple, he said, I made the tea myself, you know. As his focus was on Fu when he said that. Come now, the tea's cooling, he said. So, how did you guys meet Naruto? Asked Sora, as he was guiding Fu and Haku on a tour, as the elderly monk was discussing something private with Naruto. So, he had told them to take them on a tour, which he was doing at the moment. Sora was a bit annoyed seeing that he hadn't spent time with Naruto, but he was told by the head monk to do this, and he would not disobey. And not to mention, he will get to spend time with Naruto later. I've only actually come to meet Naruto recently. As Sora turned towards Haku. He didn't think of himself as someone that is petty, but being growing up and being isolated, Naruto was his best friend, and he thought that this guy was stealing his best friend. He allowed me to accompany him. After I lost someone very precious to me, said Haku. A bit of his attention drained away at that. No, that was Naruto. The blonde was too kind and compassionate for his own good. So, what about you, he said, as he turned to the girl that had kept quiet. Fu, if he was not mistaken. Naruto rescued me, she said. As he paused, expecting something else, but she just remained quiet. Okay, he said, as he started to point out, well, things are in the temple. Fu had thought about telling him that she was a Shinjuki. She knew about his previous situation from Naruto after all. But she just couldn't befriend people like what Naruto did. Her trust was a bit more difficult to obtain. Right now, only a few people knew that she was a Jinchuriki outside of her village. That was Naruto, Haku, Tsunade, Shizune, Killer Bee, Roshi, and Han. Well, that was if he was still alive. As she listened, but her mind was elsewhere. She was worried about Naruto, not about being here, but what was going to happen to them. Would he now stay in the temple? Would this be where their paths parted? She really hoped that wasn't true. Meanwhile, your story filled me with happiness and sadness at the same time, Naruto. The elderly monk said, as Naruto finished telling him what happened. When I allowed you to walk through those gates, I knew your travels would be eventful, but I never expected anything like this. Naruto didn't leave anything out. If there was anyone he felt he could trust, it was Chikaku. It warmed my heart to see you with such strong, dependable friends, and to know that you have touched the hearts of many. And again, it filled me with dread, to know what you have to go through in your young life. Truly, he believed that no one Naruto age should have faced the things that Naruto had to. It's okay, as Naruto's voice sounded small. As now that he was back home, he didn't feel like he had to maintain that strong, outward appearance that he has been carrying for so long. If anything, his voice was showing the exhaustion from it all. After all, he was still 13 years old. I had time to come to terms with it all, even Shizuku's death. As Chikaku winced at that, as he heard about the tragic story between the boy and the girl that happened in the span of a year. Still, an enormous burden was placed upon the shoulders of yours when you activate those eyes of yours. But I'm proud. I'm proud about the things that you have accomplished, Naruto, he said. As his smile increased, maybe later you could give me a demonstration of your newfound abilities. Sora often speaks about when you return, so the both of you can spar. Now, Naruto, if I may ask, as Naruto looked up, the playfulness had left in my voice, as he looked concerned a bit as well. It didn't seem like you felt like your journey was over yet. What made you return to us so soon? Not that I'm not pleased to have you back, you know. Honestly, I was talked into it. Chikaku raised an amused eyebrow, as Naruto explained. But I did feel homesick. I just needed a little push to admit it to myself. And I got that. But now that I'm actually here, I have to admit, there's something I need help with. Chikaku raised the eyebrow. The problems that Naruto often brought to him were rather interesting. Do tell, he said. Meanwhile, as full interest was dropping quickly, she was happy to know where Naruto had grew up. But still, it was a temple. They had been at so many temples around the elemental nation, and, well, it wasn't that really special. It was a temple after all. But they rounded the corner as they saw Chikaku and Naruto sitting out in the field, as there was a large statue of a monk there in meditation. As Fu glanced towards the statue, it was like someone captured a moment in time and carved it on the stone. Ah, you're here, Chikaku said. I wondered how long we would have to wait for you to join us. Sora raised the arm as he scratched the back of his head. Sorry, Shishao, he said. I guess the time got away from me. The elderly monk waved them off, as he motioned for them to come. No matter, I was just about to begin explaining things to young Naruto here. As Fu sit next to Naruto, Sora quickly sitting on Naruto's opposite side before Haku had a chance. But Haku sit next to the elderly monk, as he didn't mind at all. What were you explaining? Asked Fu. Sora blinked, as that was more than what she said with him. Naruto asked me about something before he left, still confused even me. Sora, you already know about this, but has Naruto ever explained what he see exactly through those remarkable eyes of his? Fu had a vague idea, seeing chakra in all concepts and forms, as she knew that Naruto wouldn't like her that way, but it just sounded, well, unbelievable. She would have liked to see that herself, but well, she didn't have those eyes. Well, you see, Naruto can glimpse at what others could only dream of. The nature, appearance of chakra itself. Haku's eyes widened a bit at that. He never realized the ability was so extensive. However, when he first arrived here, he could feel a transmitted glow, even in things that shouldn't have chakra, which made me believe that it wasn't chakra in fact. However, after Naruto left on his pilgrimage, I became curious and started to look through the archives. Even Naruto was interested at this point. I now believe what Naruto was viewing back then was nature chakra itself. All of them blinked in confusion at that. Never heard the term before. Nature chakra? As in chakra that doesn't come from humans, Naruto said, quickly figuring it out, given the word nature. Actually, as far as I can tell, it does come from humans, but everything else as well, the ground, plants, everything. It is a chakra of the world. There are most that don't know about the existence, but there are those who do, and that can even interact with it. He paused as he let that sink in, as he also enjoyed the dramatic flair. Those few are known as sages, he said. At that, Naruto's eyes opened in realization, something the monk realized quickly. That's right, Naruto, the sage of Sixth Path was able to manipulate nature chakra. There is no wonder if he had the ability like you had. So how is it done? Manipulating nature chakra? Chikaku smiled sadly as he looked towards the statue. I'm afraid that knowledge was lost to us with monk Getsu. He was the last of us that attempt to harness nature chakra. As Naruto gazed at the statue, as the thing looked so detailed, like it was almost real, other than being carved. What happened to him? Chikaku looked at the statue the same way. Nothing. He's sitting right in front of you. All of them looked a bit confused before they saw the look in his eye as they looked at the statue fully. Wait, that's him? But that's a statue. Please, Sora, respect. Sora lowered his gaze a bit. On one hand, it seems that nature energy is a double-edged sword. The sages of today, who are able to harness the power, has gotten immense strength and power. On the other hand, the training is dangerous and lethal as well. Wait, the sages of today? Said Fu. Oh yes, there are still a few that practice senjutsu ability. But it is a closely guarded secret, mostly passed down from summoning animals to their contract holder. The only thing I know about the practice is that it involves being still. As Naruto was still gazing at the statue as he couldn't believe it, he walked past his statue for 4 years. And in all that time the thing was a living, breathing human. As he couldn't believe it. And he could see this nature energy. But how is that different? I remember winning a bit after staying 3 days still, longer than Sora. No, my boy, what I'm talking about here is being truly still, perfectly balanced with nature energy and your surroundings. Aren't there any faster ways? Sora asks, as Chikaku gazed at the young monk. Without Naruto here to siphon off some of his extra energy, he had become rather outspoken. There are no shortcuts in the path of enlightenment, Sora. However, it seems like there's a stronger connection with such places as Mount Miyaboku, Ryuko Cave, and the Shikotsu Forest. Fu frowned at that. She knew most of the elemental nations by heart, but she never heard those names before. Don't fret, girl. As she looked up, I would not expect you to have heard of the names for Konoha 3 summoning contract locations. As Fu understand, without a contract, those places wouldn't be located, as they should be well hidden without a contract to get there by the summoning animal. But what is the problem? Said Naruto. How much deeper in nature than we can be while we're in the forest in Hinokuni? As he gestured towards the statue. If the monk could do it here, but he failed, there should still be a lot of nature energy around here. I'm afraid that once these forests were perfect for nature training, but that is no longer the case. These forests are a result of Hoshirama Senju monkeying on ability. They are not natural at all. Back in the War Clan period, whatever conditions set there are vastly different right now. Everything has changed. Naruto did not let that keep him depressed. Then I guess I'll have to find somewhere else, he said. As Chikaku grinned, he was truly something. I'm sure you will, boy. But you must be aware from your travels. You and your friends are welcome to stay with us as long as you want. Naruto bowed his head. Thank you, Chichao. I'm grateful, he said. Chikaku simply smiled, as he knew that Naruto was destined for great things. As he just wished that he humored this old man in his twilight hours. With that he stood as he groaned at his creaking limbs, as he wondered how Sarutobi could be this old and still be a shinobi. But guys, we end this episode right here. If you want the next part of this or not to do, like, subscribe, comment down below and turn on that bell notification as he posted. But more for now, see you guys soon. Peace.